Hello, Highlanders. This is Mayor Rodman with a preview of tomorrow's council meeting agenda. Before we get started, I would like to thank those who participated in the parade last Wednesday afternoon for Highland, Glen Assisted Living Center and Utah State Developmental Center. It was a great event. We've had probably close to 100 vehicles involved. There were fire trucks, police cars, and lots of personal vehicles decorated with signs and balloons and flags. It was a great time. We even had a bagpiper walk the frontage road in front of Highland Glen Assisted Living Center as we drove by. The residents there were very appreciative, as were the Utah State Developmental Center residents and staff. I spoke with the director of the USDC, and he was gushing with praise on how much the staff loved it and the residents and how excited they were, and just went on and on what a great thing that was. So thank you for those that helped with that. Thank you also to those that helped take down caution tape on our 17 playgrounds Saturday morning. The governor, when he on Thursday announced that on Saturday we would be moving to a condition yellow, that meant our playgrounds could be open. And so rather than wait for Monday for staff to come in, Brian Braithwaite, the chair of our Parks, Trails, and Tree Commission, organized a group of residents to help with tape removal and posting some signs in the parks. So thank you to Karter Hartman, who did eight of our playgrounds, Kristen Chevrier and company, who did 3, and council members Smith, Bills, and Rodela, who also helped take down tape, and Brian, who helped on the project and organized it. Very much appreciate that. Okay, on to our meeting. We'll start with a presentation from someone who's proposing a joint municipal private-owned rec center. His name is Tony Johns. I've sat through it. It's interesting. It was supposed to be last council meeting, but for a couple of reasons we got postponed to this one. For those of you that are interested in that, please feel free to watch. It does not have a pool in it for those of you that are interested in pools. So don't be too disappointed when that doesn't come up. All right, then we go on to our consent items. We're approving about $400,000 worth of seal coating and crack sealing. Included in that is a little over $100,000 of crack sealing and seal coating on our trails. It will cover about 2/3 of the trails in Highland. Staff looked at our trails, and like with the roads, they recommended that we take care of the good trail first, and so they analyzed it, and there's about 2/3 of the trails in Highland are in a good enough condition that doing a seal coat and crack seal will cover most of the issues there. In addition to that, we will be working on goat head or punctual vine abatement. That'll be a multi-year project, but we are going to make some headway this year. So good news on the trail side, we are making progress, or we will be. The third item on the consent item agenda is replacing the boiler heater in City Hall. This was on last week's agenda. Council asked staff to go out and get a second bid. They had worked out and negotiated with the person fixing it on the police station to get a $2,000 discount if he did both. The second bid came in and was significantly higher than what staff had already negotiated, so we're going to proceed with what was negotiated last council meeting. Then we're also looking at amending the purchase and encumbrance code in the city. This was also on last council meeting's consent item. Council had some concerns, staff addressed those, and it's back on the agenda and should get approved. The last item on the consent agenda is approving library board appointments for Jessica Anderson, Natalie Reed, and Kim Rodela. Jessica and Natalie are current board members and have served well and want to serve more, want to continue, so we thank them for their willingness to serve. The library director was excited that they wanted to continue, and so we're approving them. Their terms expire the end of June. This will let them continue past that. And then Kim Rodela's appointment is being approved as well. Now, she was on there. She took over Councilman Dennis's position, and that expired at the end of this June as well. So excited to have all three of those continue. They're all doing great. Our next item is a public hearing relative to the tentative budget for 2021. This will be very tentative because we still don't have all the data that we'd like with respect to revenue forecasts. I don't expect that there'll be too much discussion. We have a work session scheduled for June 9th where we'll go over the budget in more detail and have a better picture of what revenue looks like for next year. Next item on the agenda is approval of some changes to the PD district for Fairfield Cove, which is located south of Highland Glen Assisted Living Center. It's a total of 2.85 acres. There will be 6 homes built, plus a small commercial district located on the east side of North County Boulevard. The amendments that we're looking at are mostly to do with setbacks. The council approved with the developer's agreement the developer's ability to give us about $50,000 in lieu of creating a small park in that development, and that let him make his lots a little bit bigger and allowed for better setbacks relative to the neighboring homes. That money, part or all of it, would be used to improve a nearby park that the Fairfield Cove residents would have access to. So the item 5 public hearing is amending the PD district. Item 6 is approving the preliminary plat. Both of those were approved by the Planning Commission with stipulations. I don't see any major concerns there. The third item is related to park improvements requested for the Wild Rose Park. That's the park adjacent to Fairfield Cove. I'm not sure that we have enough information to make a final decision on that. I imagine it will get continued, and that the Parks, Trails, and Tree Commission might get asked to help and participate in determining what is best, not only for the nearby residents, but for the city as a whole. So I expect there'll be a little bit of discussion there, but I'm thinking it will get continued. Item 8 is an agreement with Pat Robinson, who owns property north of 9600 and west of Alpine Highway. We're going to be working on some sewer lines there. Staff has been negotiating some easement rights with her that would reduce our costs and benefit her when she develops that property. Next, staff is requesting some changes to our code relative to the PO zone where Highland Hideaway is located. That's on the west side of Highland Boulevard, just north of Timpanogos Highway. There was ambiguity in the code before. They'd like to remove that, make it very clear what you can and can't put there. I think that's a win-win for everybody, and I don't see that will create any big stir. It's not going to allow anything new, and it will remove all ambiguity about what else could be there. Next item is a request by staff to amend sections of the development code related to large animal shelters. The city has code that's permits the building of large animal shelters without a lot of permitting. And looking at the code, it's possible for people to abuse that, and so they want to tighten that down. And again, I support that. Second to last item is again some code cleanup related to what the definition of a main dwelling unit is. We have in our current code that identifies that you can have your home and then have a 10-foot or less breezeway between that and another building, and as long as you have that breezeway, the other building would be considered part of your main dwelling. This tightens that up a bit so that it can't be abused. And again, it's an improvement in my mind. And there will be some discussion there, but I suspect this will pass as well as most of the other items. Our last item is an agreement with UDOT relative to signal locations on Alpine Highway. They are looking at two right now, one in American Fork, just north of the cemetery. That's north 740, I believe. And there's a plan at some point to put a light there and have that continue down and then connect to 700 North below, and that's the road that goes up past the temple. So at some point, this American Fork will develop that road. This just identifies the location of a light. The other location for the light is in Highland at Canal Boulevard, and we plan on having that work done in the next 12 months. The East-West Connector Road is going to start in June, and this is an agreement with UDOT to put a light there. If you didn't know, Alpine Highway is a state-owned road, and so when work is done on that road, it could be a light or putting another entryway onto that road that needs to get approved by UDOT. This just gets some things squared away so that when construction starts, it's much easier. The process has already started on stuff. So anyway, I don't see that there will be a problem with that. Our next meetings are May 26th. We'll have a planning commission meeting. On June 2nd is our next council meeting. On June 9th, as mentioned, is a public city council budget work session. That will be an interesting meeting. We'll have a lot more data to work with in terms of what's the future look like. And then on June 16th, we will have our council meeting where the 2020-2021 budget is approved. Not sure what else will be on that meeting. But if you're interested in the city budget, I would probably find a way to watch or attend the budget work session, because there'll be a lot more details there. The June 16th meeting should just be a final review and approval. Any changes would likely have been discussed in the budget work session. So if you're interested in learning about the budget, the June 9th meeting is the one to go to. All right, have a great week, and thank you for all you do for each other. We are moving forward, and I am glad to see more people out and about. Have a great week. Bye.